This week on UND Insider Weekly, men's and women's hockey break out the brooms as they sweep Niagara and Ohio State. Men's basketball nearly shocks Northern Colorado, and women's basketball gets back to their winning ways with their win against UNC in Greeley. The head coach of that women's team, Travis Brewster, joins us in the Coach's Corner, and the panel previews the jam-packed weekend coming up. All this week on UND Insider Weekly. Welcome to UND Insider Weekly alongside Brad Schlossman and Tom Miller from the Grand Forks Herald, Paul Ralston from UND Athletics. I'm Tim Hennessy. Guys, we're going to run her down here to start the program off. And where do you want to start? Tom, you start us off on the rundown.
All right.
Whatever sport you want.
Some men's basketball.
Packers, Seattle, whatever you want.
We could talk for a while about that one.
No,
men's basketball, UND had a great chance to pick up a key win there against Northern Colorado. Took them to overtime and just didn't have enough in overtime, but showed some pretty incredible ability down the stretch there to tie that thing up and send it to overtime. Got a little bit of a gift on a free throw lane violation on the Bears in the final moments, but Essen Tyler hit a big three to send it to overtime, but just didn't have enough in that extra session.
Paul, what happened in the overtime?
Turnovers in offensive sets really were critical, and they basically led to easy baskets. North Dakota took good care of the ball really for the most part throughout the game. One of the things we're finding here, you look at things now, look at the Big Sky Conference. North Dakota saw Sacramento State come in here, slip out with a 2-point win at the buzzer. They're now leading the Big Sky Conference. Yeah, and you look at Portland State, who's had a pretty good run themselves, and now Northern Colorado sitting up near the top of the conference as well. And so it's not like North Dakota has done horribly. They've been in these games. They just haven't been able to swing whatever the little margin is the other way. The one thing that's common in all these teams that came through Grand Forks and North Dakota went 0-3 is that all of them have senior, veteran-led players that have been through the battles of Big Sky play before, and they seem to rear and show up at the biggest moments, like Tevin Svihovic here on Saturday.
Right, and they kind of have a go-to guy, and maybe that's some of UND's kind of inexperience playing together. This group is new together. They don't have that proven scorer for the late moments.
Well, I was listening to you on the UND Radio Network, Basketball Network. I need a tutorial here.
All right.
What's the difference between a ball screen and a screen?
Ball screen's on the ball.
Right, so whoever's dribbling the ball, of course I did this, I think, on Pro Tips last year, actually, with the then assistant Dean Oliver, but a ball screen is when the ball handler up top and some guy comes directly out to set a screen for him, just comes out to set the screen on his defender directly. So now a screen could happen anywhere, like guys who aren't near the basketball, they can be screening down in the lane, but
they used to just call that a screen, didn't they?
Correct.
Yeah. You got to learn how to score the ball, I know.
Yes.
The women's basketball team went to Northern Colorado and won, shot 34 free throws. That's unheard of on the road,
and
at least it was in the North Central Conference.
Well, didn't they shoot about 31 or make 31
they made
of them?
31 of them,
I mean, so that's a great percentage. And they got some good outside scoring, which they had kind of missed. I think Siri Burke was 3 for 3 from 3.
Megan Lauk, I think, shot pretty well too.
That's right. So I think they only got 2 points out of Emily Evers and still managed to pick up the win. So some nice secondary scoring and outside scoring.
You look at this UND women's team, that was a critical game, I thought, just to kind of get themselves squared away again after having a tough road trip to Portland State and Sac State. We're finding out that the Sac State team is maybe the real deal all of a sudden. They're leading the conference on the women's side now.
And we had thought that people had figured out their style. And, maybe they're just improving their style. I don't know.
I think they just UND's a springboard for these teams.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, doesn't it?
You look at it from the standpoint of getting that outside shooting. We're going to talk about this when we talk about men's hockey, about how at this time of year the veteran players, you kind of they tend to grab things and run with it because they realize that their time is limited. There was a perfect example of a game, as you mentioned, Siri Burke, Megan Lauk, kind of harnessing things there in a game where they had to have after a tough road stretch. So and they went out and got it.
Brad, you're a historian. When's the last time, or has there been a last time, that men or women had a 2-game series where they win or lose 1-0 both games, as the women did at Ohio State?
I don't recall that happening ever or anywhere, to be honest. And Shelby Amesley-Benzie has been phenomenal for UND this year. Her numbers have been great all year. I think her save percentage is something like .945. Her goals against is .150, and her record is like 9-6. Or, you know, it's like with those numbers, your record should be a lot better. She just hasn't got a whole lot of scoring help, and this weekend, I guess she didn't need much. Just one goal by a defenseman at the start in the first period each game.
Well, that says a lot for the defense and the goaltending of the team.
Mm-hmm.
Does it say something else for the offense on the team?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's what we knew.
Which is a problem.
Yeah, I think even coming into the year, that's what you looked at and said that this team is going to have pretty good goaltending. They're going to have pretty good defenders. Are they going to be able to get the offense? And they really haven't been able to get the offense. But fortunately, this weekend they didn't allow a goal the entire weekend. And you know, this was the first time in a while Shelby started both games. They have been splitting, and obviously that was the right call to have her in there because they needed every last save.
Long-term forecast, where does a sweep on the road with the points gained put them in their run to try to get some home ice advantage in that first round of the WCHA women's?
Yeah, this one's huge because essentially Minnesota and Wisconsin, they're going to finish top two. St. Cloud and Mankato are going to finish the last two spots. So there's 4 teams competing for the 2 home ice spots, and UND and Ohio State are 2 of them. And UND now has the season series against them because they won and tied here, and that 6 points is just huge for them. Now they come back home and play a Bemidji State team that swept them in Bemidji, and that is also in that group of 4. So they have a really key stretch of Ohio State, Bemidji State, and Minnesota Duluth, and that will probably tell us whether they're going to be at home or not.
Men's team took care of business against Niagara over the weekend, 7-1 and 5-0. So the only goal given up by UND goaltenders, men and women, was the one by Zane McIntyre on Friday night, and that was kind of a fluky little thing. I guess that one came under the heading of they just took care of business against a team that maybe is number 59 in the country.
Yes, and that's what the coaching staff would hope to see out of the team, is that they don't make it interesting. They've played a couple teams that were overmatched earlier this year, and they found a way to make the games interesting, and I don't think they wanted to do that this weekend, and they came out. They scored first in both games. They really didn't let Niagara, I think some of those other games, the other team scored and kind of was able to build some confidence and get into the game, and that wasn't the case either night this weekend. So they took care of business. They got scoring from a lot of different places, and as Paul said, some of the seniors came up big for them this weekend.
And I thought, Tim, your conversation on the radio side of the pregame show on Saturday with the head coach of Niagara, you said, so what do you think now that you've been on the ice with North Dakota after one game? He kind of just went, it was like, that's a reality.
Well, they tried. They wanted to play with them, and he wanted to play a 200-foot game, and he said, we're not going to start slowing it down and trapping and doing that kind of stuff. He said, we tell our guys we're going to play. Maybe a bad decision after Friday night, because they couldn't, obviously, speed-wise, they couldn't keep up.
No, it didn't work out, but at the same time, you wonder if that will help their players develop a little bit. They played at an extremely fast pace. Their D had a lot of pressure put on them. Now they're going to go back into Atlantic hockey, and I think that's one thing they like about coming and playing these type of series. It'll make them better down the stretch, and we'll see if they can bump out of that 59 spot in the pairwise, because if they do, it'll help UND.
Yeah, you could use some help, and you don't know if you're going to get it or not from that. You don't look for it from that.
No, you don't, but that's why that was so critical. They are 59th of 59 teams in the pairwise. You lose one, you can plummet pretty quickly there. So they took care of business. They're done with non-conference now. On to conference play the rest of the way.
You're about number 5 now in the pairwise, 4?
4 in the pairwise, I believe, last I checked.
All right, coming up after ending a rough road trip on a high note, women's basketball returns home, and head coach Travis Brewster joins us in the Coach's Corner next.
The great thing about snowboarding is the adventure. All day long, you're finding different ways of doing different things, and it's never the same. I don't mind snowboarding alone, but if you've got your friends up there on the mountain and you guys can all cruise down together, it's a really, really fun time. Snowboarding has been really fun and really rewarding for me, and I want it to be fun and rewarding for my customers as well. I'm Lindsay McKinstry, and I'm one of the snowboard experts at Shields.
Cities Area Transit. We go where you go.
Did you know that riding the city bus is free for UND and Northland students?
I ride the bus so I don't have to find a parking spot, and then I'm always within an easy walking distance to all of my classes.
I'm going green, so I ride my bike everywhere. But when the weather turns bad, I take the bus. And why not? It's free.
Cities Area Transit. Enjoy the ride.
Etihad and defeating the citizens, it was fantastic. It was a wonderful moment in my life.
What language are you speaking?
When,
He watched football when everyone else was watching football.
yeah, that's right.
Grab the family, come to the Betty, and enjoy fan appreciation concession specials this Thursday night while you watch North Dakota women's basketball battle the Idaho Vandals. Then return on Saturday for another Big Sky showdown between North Dakota and Eastern Washington at 2 p.m. North Dakota men's basketball returns to Grand Forks for 2 key Big Sky Conference matchups at the Betty. UND tips off against Weber State on Thursday night at 7 p.m. and the first 1,000 fans in attendance receive a free rally towel. Then on Saturday, January 31st, North Dakota takes on Idaho State at 2 p.m. Get your tickets for both games at the Ralph Engelstad Arena box office or online at undsports.com.
Watch over 400 live events with the free Watch Big Sky app. Not able to travel with your team? Watch road games from home. Use the extensive archive to catch up on any action you may have missed. Watch Big Sky is available on your phone or tablet. Get it now on the Apple App Store or Google Play. WatchBigSky.com.
UND Insider Weekly is sponsored by Shields and Grand Forks Cities Area Transit.
This weekend, women's basketball returns home to face Idaho and Eastern Washington. Action starts as they face off with Idaho this Thursday at 7, and then they take on Eastern Washington Saturday at 7 o'clock. Get your tickets at the Ralph Engelstad Arena box office or online at the new UNDsports.com. The head coach of that women's basketball team, Travis Brewster, joins us in the Coach's Corner. Coach, thanks for coming by and appreciate your time today.
Appreciate it.
And your team is back on track again, right?
Oh yeah. Had a solid effort out there in Northern Colorado. It's all keyed by our defense.
What was the most promising thing coming out of that game, though?
I thought that for us, being able to win there, it's a tough place to win. And the other part was it was a great defensive effort. It was nice to see us play on both ends of the ball finally again. We did that early in the season. We kind of got away from it a little bit, and I thought our team responded well to that week of practice. What
gets a team away from that? You say you were doing it early in the season, and then you got away from it. What is it? Just a mental thing, or what is it?
Some of it's the emphasis of what we're working on in practice. That falls back on me a little bit. But the other part too is when you start having success with putting the ball in the hole, it's natural to gravitate towards that because there's a little bit more glamour with that one. Playing defense, there's not a lot of glamour in that. That's will and just gut, and getting after it. But we started to embrace that role again.
You have to convince them that the good defense leads to the good offense, right?
Yeah, they understand it. They've been in the situation before, and we talked about, hey, we're going to get back on track. How are we going to do it? And we have to start right here on the defensive end of the floor because that's an effort thing. And
individually, we saw some gals have good big nights. I think Siri and Megan both had big nights for you, and offensively, and that's certainly a promising sign, isn't it? If they can get some consistency to that.
Well, Northern Colorado geared their whole defense to stop our inside game and stop Emily.
And they did.
And they did. But credit Emily for understanding. Hey, that's a big compliment if you're really trying to stop me. And she kept working, and then that allowed everybody else's game to free up a little bit more. And Megan, she was very creative, knocked down some shots, and I thought Siri did a very good job hitting some key shots for us. We talk about all the time timely baskets. And she's starting to understand, hey, timely baskets means chances are I'm open. And she's starting to knock those down.
The free throw thing was really something to me. I don't know, have you ever shot that? 31 out of 34? I don't know what that equates to in percentage, but it's more than 50.
Yeah, it's more than 50. It's about 91. it was good. It was really good for us to get after it and to get to the free throw line. But we were attacking the basket and we were playing good defense, keeping our hands off, and I thought we did a good job of rebounding as well.
This week, a couple of home games finally, back at home, and obviously you've had great success here at home. Let's start with Idaho. What do they look like?
Idaho, very up and down team, as far as getting up and down the floor. They get up and down, they fill it up, they take quick shots and they knock them down. They're leading the conference in offensive rebounding. So that's going to be a big test for us. Can we keep them off the glass?
That's a big test for Emily in particular. Maya as well?
Well, I think all of them. Their guards rebound particularly well. They really do, and that's been something we've talked about throughout the season here at UNI. It's going to fall a lot on our guards. How well are we going to play? And they're going to be tested. They're going to be tested in that particular game.
Then you take on Saturday, go with Eastern Washington. Yeah. What kind of problems are they going to present?
Well, the thing about Eastern Washington is they were a very good team last year. There's not a lot of difference in them. I thought last year they just had some games didn't go their way. They're playing solid basketball again. They did it last year. Lexi Nelson, one of their guards, is a very, very, very good basketball player. And the other thing they do well, though, is they just attack. They're a very aggressive team on the offensive end. They're going to attack you off the dribble if they can. They're going to attack you with a pass. They're going to attack you. They're very aggressive on the offensive end. So you have to be solid. You can't have any breakdowns.
Different preparation between Idaho and Eastern Washington? Entirely different? Or?
There's a little bit of similarity, but I think the big thing is you got to take the first team first. That's Idaho. Eastern Washington, there's some things that we got to work on a little bit tomorrow, but it's just one of those things that's, they're both aggressive style teams on the offensive end, and we have to be a better defensive unit.
And as always, you've got that target on your back after the success you had last year. They'll come in here gunning for you, right?
Oh yeah. Well, Idaho went to the national tournament last year when they were in the WAC conference, so that's going to be a little bit different as well. So we'll have to get after it. 2 tournament teams on Thursday night. Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens, man. Well, again, good luck in that one. Good luck Saturday. Thanks for coming by. Appreciate it. Thank you. Coach Travis Brewster of the UND women's basketball team. And coming up after the break, got a busy weekend, both home and away, with teams on the road and at home. We'll preview that next when we return after this.
North Dakota men's basketball returns to Grand Forks for 2 key Big Sky Conference matchups at the Betty. UND tips off against Weber State on Thursday night at 7 p.m. and the first 1,000 fans in attendance receive a free rally towel. Then on Saturday, January 31st, North Dakota takes on Idaho State at 2 p.m. Get your tickets for both games at the Ralph Engelstad Arena box office or online at undsports.com. Last year, 5,835 fans watched UND take on Minnesota, setting a new attendance record. And this year, we're going to break it. Come pack the Ralph on Friday, February 6th to see North Dakota women's hockey take on rival Minnesota at 7 p.m. as we break the attendance record again. Tickets are just $1, and the first 1,000 fans receive a free foam stick hat. Purchase your tickets today at the Ralph Engelstad Arena box office and be part of history.
And finally, Max Scherzer has agreed to a mega $1 million contract that'll last for 7 years. How's that? I mean, with who?
With who and for how much?
With who?
Cities Area Transit. We go where you go.
Did you know that riding the city bus is free for UND and Northland students?
I ride the bus so I don't have to find a parking spot, and then I'm always within an easy walking distance to all of my classes.
I'm going green, so I ride my bike everywhere. But when the weather turns bad, I take the bus. And why not? It's free.
Cities Area Transit. Enjoy the ride.
Here's to everyone who believes in competition and good sportsmanship, who knows it's not about the trophies or the medals, but rather the lessons learned. For those who understand, it's not whether you win or lose, just that you give your best. So go ahead, lace them up, take the field, have fun, and play. For the experience, for the memories, for the love of the game. Shields.
This Thursday, Through These Doors is all new. After finishing their non-conference schedule on a high note, the team gets ready for a big stretch of the season. Plus, after notching another career shutout on Saturday, Zane McIntyre sits down to talk about his time here at UND. The new episode premieres Thursday at its new time, 8 p.m. on UNDsports.com. Welcome back to Insider Weekly. Guys, let's talk about what's going on this coming weekend. I think the NCHC series at the Ralph should be interesting, Brad, and the fact that North Dakota went to Colorado College and they had a new head coach and getting things together, and really I don't think played very well.
No.
North Dakota did, but this is CC teams, won 2 of their last 3, I think, including wins over a good Connecticut team, a good Nebraska-Omaha team. Be a little different than it was out in the Springs earlier, don't you think?
I think it will be. I think they had a lot of guys in new spots, to start the year. They lost guys like Alexander Krushelnyski did so much for them, and a lot of guys filling in different spots, and it takes some time, but they have a real good defensive core. I think we saw that out there a little bit. Jacob Slavin is legit. I think he's probably will play in the NHL someday, and UND's just got to try to take care of business again, because it is going to be an improved team. It's not your typical last place in the league type team, but it is the team that is going to finish last in the NCHC, and you need to get the wins out of this if you're going to win the league.
They may possibly get some injured players back, maybe St. Clair this weekend. If that happened, they could put Tucker Pullman back in the back line if they want to do that.
Yeah, that's another question.
The 6 that have been playing there have done pretty darn well.
They have, and Tucker Pullman's added something up front for them too. So a lot of difficult decisions will have to be made once the team gets healthy again.
I was going to say that it seems like that's kind of the interesting thing to see how this season unfolds, is because you seem like a player like Poganski in recent weeks has really solidified himself in the lineup, wouldn't you say? And it looked like Trevor Olson, before he came down with his illness, seemed like he was on his way to solidifying himself up until that happened. So it's kind of going to be a really interesting battle who they put up front.
There's a lot of good competition right now. You don't want to play a bad game, because you'll probably be out the next game and there'll be someone else taking your spot.
Basketball, Idaho, both on the road, women at home, men on the road. What kind of a squad are we facing there, guys?
Well, on the men's side, and I'm sure Tom can touch on this as well, this is going to be a real challenge for the men. Eastern Washington got beat for their first game in conference play against Sacramento State on Saturday. They're going to be ornery. The other thing that kind of jacks them up against North Dakota is that North Dakota, the first 2 years in Big Sky play, went out to Cheney, Washington, and beat them both times. They've gotten 2 road wins in Cheney, and Eastern Washington certainly one of the teams that's going to be in the mix for a Big Sky title this year. Idaho has just come into the Big Sky. The last time North Dakota was out there playing Idaho and the Vandals was when we were making the D1 transition. And actually, we didn't play inside the Kibbe Dome, or what is known as the Cowan Spectrum, is where they play most of their games, but we played in the old War Memorial. The Vandals team comes from the WAC, and they've shown some early season progress and some pretty good play, so that should be an interesting matchup for the men. A really big challenge to try to get a road win. A split would be huge.
Yeah, a lot of teams are going to make that road trip 0-2. Eastern Washington and Idaho are very strong. UND might get a little bit of a gift. Eastern Washington is Venky Joyce, who is one of the best big men in the Big Sky. Was banged up on Thursday, didn't play Saturday in their loss. So if he's out, that would really help UND's shot out there.
But basketball, how about the women at home?
Well, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, just another tough series. Cheney right now, Eastern Washington is looking to host that tournament too, and UND is going to hope to be in that spot as well, the challenge for that. And I believe they only get Eastern Washington once this year, so that matchup is going to be big to see who has a shot to host the Big Sky tournament.
And one of the local favorites, Jim Scanlon, brings his Bemidji State women's hockey team in here. They've had some great success in the first year under the former East Grand Forks coach and athletic director.
Great season for them so far. They might be the only team to beat Minnesota right now. I think the Gophers have one loss, and that was Jim Scanlon and Bemidji State. So I think a lot of people will be excited to see him back in town, and it's a big series for both teams. Both teams going for home ice.
All right, coming up, we found out what the panel expects of this weekend, and now they will tell us what they're looking forward to most. That's coming up next.
UND Insider Weekly is sponsored by Shields and Grand Forks Cities Area Transit.
Grab the family, come to the Betty, and enjoy fan appreciation concession specials this Thursday night while you watch North Dakota women's basketball battle the Idaho Vandals. Then return on Saturday for another Big Sky showdown between North Dakota and Eastern Washington at 2 p.m.
Welcome back to Insider Weekly, and we're going to talk about what we're looking forward to this weekend. And Paul, you're probably looking forward to hitting the road.
Yeah, I actually like this road trip to Eastern Washington. I like the Spokane-Cheney area. It's a pretty area. Gets winter moving a little bit faster. And for North Dakota, for basketball, we'll see what this men's team can do. Can they take that next step? I don't think they're that far away, to be perfectly honest with you. Carson Shanks, it continues to progress as a big man for North Dakota, as an option for these guards to get the ball into. And can we just get some multiple scoring nights, solid scoring nights from that three-guard trio of Tyler, Hooker, and DeRuin? We can usually get one of the three to kind of score on a night in, night out basis. But can we get two or three, basically, really challenge these opponents here this weekend? That's what it's going to take to win on the road.
Brad, how about you?
I'm looking forward to spending the entire weekend out at the Ralph. Lots of hockey games to be played. North Dakota playing Colorado College in men's hockey. Usually, historically, it's been an entertaining series to watch. Both teams like to get up and down the rink. CC can't quite do it as well as they used to be able to, but still, I think we'll see some entertaining games. North Dakota and Bemidji State, I don't think we're going to see a lot of goals. I think both teams want to play, a tighter defense, lower scoring type games, and I don't know if either team has a lot of game-breaking offensive players, but they can both slow it down. So goals will be at a premium on the women's side, and on the men's side, we might see a bunch of them. So either way, it should be 4 entertaining games.
I'm looking forward to not having to spell Alexander Krushelnyski this weekend against Colorado College.
Well, they've got another one in there.
Yeah, I can imagine they'd seem to. I'll say the women's basketball series, we'll see if this team has put that rough road trip, Sacramento State, Portland State, in the rearview mirror. Just kind of call that a blip in the on the road. So we'll see if they can right the ship.
I think I'm looking forward to the hockey series with Colorado College. I think North Dakota has the best goaltender in the league, and I'm not sure. Take nothing away from the Perrys and Chase Perry, who's former Grand Forks youth player, but I don't think Colorado College has the goaltending North Dakota does too. We'll see if they can come up big, those goaltenders, because we know Jim McIntyre will be there.
They'll have to, yep.
I mean, that's just the way he is.
Both sides, right, men's and women.
Absolutely. UND Insider Weekly will return in 2 weeks, February 4th at 8 o'clock on UNDsports.com and Friday at 5 on Midco Sports Network.